Okay, so we're live now with our third broadcast. That's three, by the way, of the two non-critics. I am non-critic Dustin, and with me from Hawaii is
Non-critic will.
that's right. And so we're two lifelong friends with very different movie tastes. We're very big movie buffs, but with different tastes in movies. Sometimes those tastes converge. I think today might be one of those days. So today we come together to discuss the 2013. I was going to say big screen, but there's actually that wouldn't work. But the film adaptation of Dean Koontz's first in a series of novels, Odd Thomas. This one was my pick. I chose it because I am a big Odd Thomas fan. I am not a big Dean Koontz fan. I think Dean Koontz is sort of the guy between James Patterson, who writes the Alex Cross books, and Stephen King. He doesn't. His stories aren't as bland as James Patterson, but his prose is as bland and sort of technical as James Patterson. But his stories and his ideas are kind of as weird as Stephen King. So he leaves me cold a lot of the time. But when I read Odd Thomas, it was like I was reading a book from somebody completely new. There was a lot of life to this book. The character of Odd Thomas was just so fascinating, and this was the first time I read a book and felt like I knew the guy and he was a friend. So I was excited for the movie because Dean Koontz has had a couple different movies made out of his books. All of them have been atrociously bad. And when he saw a screening of this movie, he was on cloud nine. He couldn't believe that finally there was a good movie that he could actually recommend to people made from his books. The movie didn't get released in theaters here due to some weird legal things with the studio, so it was on the shelf for like a year. And I was worried that we'd never get to see it, but now it's on video on demand, so you can see it. And then I think it's going to get a select theater release in later this month, maybe. I'm not sure when, but you can watch it online. And so I really wanted to bring it up. I wanted to talk about it. I thought it was a movie Will might like. So, Will, if you could summarize the movie as briefly as possible and introduce your thoughts. Go.
Okay. Well, the Odd Thomas is pretty much about the main character. Of course, his name is Odd Thomas. Um, the reason why he got that name, like originally, I guess his parents were supposed to call him Todd, but they, for some reason, they stuck to Odd Thomas. I don't know exactly why,
They had
but
there's two in the movie. He mentions his parents have conflicting answers. His dad says it was always supposed to be Odd. His
okay,
mom says it was supposed to be Todd, and his parents are both completely nuts. So he doesn't know who to
awesome,
believe.
awesome. That's cool. Parents for Nutjob. That's awesome. um, well, pretty much, Odd Thomas, the main character, he has a special ability. He is able to see the dead, um, and because he can see the dead, they're able to see him. And it's kind of one of those movies where if a ghost has some unfinished business, they will try to go to him, give him some type of sign or signal, try to communicate with him in order for him to help them, um, complete their unfinished business. It's not just the fact that he can see spirits, that he can see ghosts, but he can see these demonic spirits, these demonic creatures called Bodocs, which is spelled Bodachs. They look like these. If you ever seen the movie Pitch Black with Vin Diesel,
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good comparison. I was trying to think of how to describe them, but yeah.
it looks like those type of creatures, just that they're faded out. They're like ghosts or spirits. Um, Now the thing with Bodocs is they only show up when there's going to be some type of, you can say, mass murder or a severe type of murder. It's not like if someone was dying of old age or a heart attack, they wouldn't show up. If there's anything dealing with murder, suicide, genocide, just a mass type of punishment, they will show up and they linger around because they feed off that, they absorb that. Now, if you are like Odd Thomas, where you can see them, you have to try to. What Odd he does, he tries his best to make it seem like he doesn't know that they're there, because once they realize that he knows that they're there, they'll try to kill him. So he tries to go every day nonchalant, like everything's normal. He's actually he's a cook. He's a short order cook at a restaurant. His girlfriend that he loves to death, his name's Stormy, I believe.
Yeah, Stormy Llewellyn.
Stormy, she knows his secret. She's told him, he's told her about it many times. She believes him, so that's a great girlfriend right there. She believes him. And another friend he has is a detective, which is played by Willem Dafoe. The detective's name, Dustin, is
Chief Porter, I believe. Chief Wyatt Porter, I think.
Chief Porter?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So pretty much, Chief Porter, he believes Odd as well, and he actually uses Odd to his advantage to solve cases that are unexplained. But he makes it so that Odd's name is not being put into the press. Like he does, he works his way with his agency, so Odd's name won't get out there because Odd doesn't want all that press or anything. He's trying to keep a low profile.
Yeah, it's to protect him too, because if he solves a murder and word gets out that he was involved, then shit can go down. So he's an ally of Odd, as Odd is an ally of him.
So pretty much the best way I can summarize this movie without spoiling it for anybody.
Yeah, definitely don't spoil anything because it is a new movie.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. So pretty much it's about Odd, the main character, who can see the dead. He can see Bodox. He does whatever he can to help them finish their unfinished business. And he gets help from the cop and his girlfriend. So he's kind of like, you can say he's kind of like, I wouldn't say a superhero, but he's a hero in a sense. Mm-hmm. He's a hero in his own sense, where he will make sure that criminals or whatnot, are brought to justice from what they've done, because he has direct contact with the people that they've killed.
Right. And in this, the plot is when the Bodax show up, he knows something big is going to happen, so he's trying to solve a crime before it happens.
And also, forgot to mention the fact that Odd, he kind of has premonitions in a sense. Mm-hmm. When he dreams, when he goes to sleep, he has premonitions to where he'll get a vivid picture of what could possibly happen, and that's what he has to run on. What's special about him is that with just those images, when he's at a certain place where he's gained that image, when he's at a certain place, like when he's awake, he has that feeling that, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is where I need to be. I need to investigate. I need to check everything that I can to put the pieces of the puzzle together from what I just saw in my dream. So yeah, you can say in a sense he can foresee a glimpse of the future.
Yeah, it's like he's given a jigsaw puzzle without the picture. Like he knows the pieces, and he knows they fit together, but he doesn't know in what order or what it's all going to look like.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you think of it?
I thought the movie was very interesting. When non-critic Dustin actually brought this movie to light, at first I was uninterested. I was just like, oh man, I don't really think I'm going to watch this movie. But this is something we do. We just we watch movies that appeal to us, like Dustin said at the very beginning of every show that we do, that we have very different taste. We grew up together. We've been friends since first grade, but we have very different tastes in movies. So something that he likes, he's going to, you know, mention to me to see if it will appeal to me. Because even though we have very different tastes, we do have a lot in common still. So when he first told me about the movie, I didn't want to see it. I actually procrastinated about seeing it. But when it all came down to it, I'm dedicated to this show, to what we do, and I watched the movie, and I actually enjoyed it. I did enjoy the movie. It was very interesting. The whole concept of connecting with the dead and trying to do whatever you can to solve the case. Some of it is very cliche because you see a lot of movies that have been like that where you're connecting with the dead. You're trying to complete unfinished business and stuff. But the way the movie was set up, it was all in a tasteful way that you can sit back, relax, enjoy. It's not the grandest movie, it's not the best, but it's something that you can enjoy.
Right, definitely, and that's the thing. I think it has one of those the book has one of those premises that sounds really tired. How many detective stories are there out there? There's thousands. How many stories are there about people who can see the dead and try to save, try to solve some mystery that involves the dead? There's probably hundreds of those stories. But what made, for me, as a reader of the book, what made it work was the character of Odd Thomas, the people around him, his friends, the town of Picamundo, all of that
in
was
California.
Right, yes, a fictional town in California, and the way he interacts with people, that's what sells it. For me, as a fan of the book, the movie isn't quite what I would have liked as an adaptation of the book, but that's okay. That always happens. It's a little flashier than I would have liked, which I kind of expected because Stephen Sommers is the director. If you don't know who he is, he made the first two Mummy movies. He made the first G.I. Joe movie. He made Van Helsing. He made Deep Rising and everything. So his movies, they're usually very flashy, but also kind of tongue-in-cheek and silly. I like his movies. To me, he's kind of what Michael Bay should be. He does not seem like he takes himself seriously at all. He doesn't seem like he takes the material seriously, but not too seriously. Like I always say, I liked G.I. Joe as a piece of entertainment, and I hated Transformers because to me, Transformers feels like a toy movie that's trying to be cool. G.I. Joe feels like a toy movie that's just a toy. But anyway, so I was a little nervous when I heard he was going to be directing this, and there are some of his touches in there. Some of the women are unnecessarily scantily clad. The visuals are a little, like I said, unnecessarily. I'm using that word a lot, but flashy. Like I was really about the movie during the beginning chase scene. When they do the slow, like they're fighting, and they do slow motion, and that's fast, and then they do that thing that I hate, where they slow the shutter down in the camera, so everything looks kind of choppy while they're. It's not really shaky cam. It's something Spielberg used well in Saving Private Ryan to kind of create the intensity of everything, but in this it just felt kind of like corny. But I mean, all that aside, I felt it stayed true to what matters about the book, and that is the character of Odd Thomas. He is such a sweet guy. That's what I love about the book so much, is he's not an anti-hero, but he's not really a gung-ho superhero either. He's kind of like Spider-Man, really, if you want to make a thing about it. He's not a Boy Scout. He makes mistakes, but he knows he has this gift, and he has to use it because he's a good person. And that's what I love about it. He's eccentric, but he's simple. Like not simple like Forrest Gump simple, but he's simple like he wants to lead a simple life. All he wants is to have a good job and to be with the woman he loves, and he's destined to be with. Right. So in that respect, the movie nailed it. in terms of where it kind of went meh for me is the tone of the movie is a little sillier than I would have liked. Like there's that sort of rockabilly score going on through it, which didn't really seem to fit Odd Thomas to me. I mean, Odd Thomas, the books, they're very eerie, they're very foreboding, but he keeps it upbeat.
Yeah.
He always tries to keep it light. Now, the major misstep for me in the film, from as an adaptation of the book, is Stormy.
Yeah.
Now, Dean Koontz loves this actress who they got to play Stormy. He said she is better than anything he could have hoped for. And that's great, but for me, her performance felt very like she didn't feel like a real person. And I understand Odd Thomas keeps her on this pedestal because he loves her so much, but my cat's making noise. But she came off very, very phony to me, like just the cute, sweet girlfriend. She didn't really have a personality that I found engaging, and I didn't like her personality. Every time she said "odd one," it's meant to be a term of endearment. It sounded like the actress didn't know how to say that. She's like, "Clue me in, odd one." Like it sounded like she didn't know how to make it sound like this is my name for you. So there's that. Willem Dafoe in the movie's fine. He's not who I would have chosen for
Green Goblin.
Right, yeah. I mean, it seems like his character in the Boondock Saints died and was resurrected in this or something. He's not really over the top, but which is saying a lot for Willem Dafoe because usually
it is.
But I always saw the character of Chief Porter as more of a sturdy, stable father figure in Odd's life.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of that in here. There are a few moments where I was like, okay, I get that relationship dynamic, but I was hoping for someone maybe a little heavier, maybe that I'm being biased, but someone who just seems like they're set in their ways and he's always going to be there for Odd. So that, also, okay, I was so excited when they cast Patton Oswalt as the character of Ozzy in this movie, because Ozzy, in the books, Ozzy is a mystery writer. He's a very, very fat mystery writer with 6 fingers on his, I want to say left hand, but I might be thinking of Princess Bride. And he has a really huge fat cat, and he's a great character. He's the one, in the books, Odd Thomas, the books, they're narrated by him, and he's writing them as a manuscript that based on Ozzy's suggestion that he should write what happens to him. In the movie, he's a sculptor, which is okay, but it's not as interesting to me, and he's only in one scene.
Yeah.
That, as a fan, that bothered me, but I understood. In the movie, it makes total sense. You got to keep the plot. And also, the look of the Bowbacks in this, I didn't find them very creepy. I didn't find them
really.
Yeah, I didn't find them very eerie. In the books, I always saw them as very like ethereal things, almost like if you had cut out quasi-human shapes in reality, and there's just this darkness there. That's how I imagine them, and they were much, much creepier in the book, but that's fine. So anyway,
for me, the Bodaks. Sorry to interrupt. The Bodaks, just like you, they didn't really scare me that much. It's one of those where if you're caught off guard, it can just shock you real quick. Like, oh shit! But then you just go back to it like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, what I would say the way you're describing how you would see the Bodaks, I would see them as perfect example for me would be old school Patrick Swayze movie Ghost.
Yeah, those things, yeah.
Those shadows that took people to hell, that creeped me out. Because they were just a pure shadow that would grab you and suck you down to the deepest depths of hell. That creeped me out. I would be more scared of a shadow in the corner that if my lights are out and like let's say there's a little bit of light shining through my window but the lights are out and all of a sudden I see the shadows move, that's going to scare the shit out of me. Not a damn, not how they depicted the boat actually, like the creatures from Pitch Black.
Right, yeah. They were monsters, and I never really saw them as monsters. I saw them as these sort of, because that's something, okay, that I think that's because in the book, Odd goes through a couple of different theories as to what the Bodax might be. He has no idea what they are. But one of his theories is that in the future, mankind becomes so disgusting and perverted that they find a gateway into the past, and they actually visit the past disasters. So that's why they're only around when something huge is going to happen. So I always pictured them as somewhat human in form, and that they're coming through time, but you can't really see them because they're on some different reality or something. So Shadows would have been really good. But in terms of just a movie, had I never read the book, also his parents got shafted in this movie. In the first book, his parents are a big part of things because his mom is completely nuts. His dad is nuts, but in a different way. But I read that they cut the mom and dad storyline because the test audience thought it was too dark. For instance, in the book, there's a memory Odd has where his mom is holding a revolver to his head when he's a kid. And she asks him to look down the barrel of the gun and see if he can see the bullet at the end. Like, that is fucked up. And I was like, I knew they weren't going to do that in the movie. But so anyway, done with the book comparisons because I'm rambling. But as a movie, I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought the pacing was kind of dubious. Now, my definition of dubious pacing is a lot different than most. To me, if a movie feels like it's constantly just going and going and going and revving up and revving, that bothers the shit out of me. You need to have a moment. You need to have quiet character moments where the audience can breathe and the characters can breathe, because then that eases you more into the world. Now, to be fair, the book and most of Dean Koontz's books have that like locomotive pacing. They're just constantly moving and moving and moving, and that's what leaves me cold about it. Yeah. So I can't really judge it on that. But that did bother me. Also, something that bugged me about the movie was the way they explained the simplest concepts in like over detail. Like they'll do a flashback. Like there's a scene where Odd puts a clue together.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know what this means. And you see every flashback from earlier in the movie explaining it, and then, which is kind of corny, but whatever. If there's an idiot in the audience who didn't realize what he means, okay, show him what he means. But then Odd will say out loud what you just saw. And I'm like, come on. Hey.
Yeah.
And so
that's doing too much.
Yeah, it gets redundant. And also, I actually took note of one thing because I kept laughing. There's a scene where he's looking at a calendar, and he sees there's August 14th. The next page is August 16th. August 15th is missing, and he's on the phone with Stormy. And she says, August 14th, that's today. Or like something like that, like that's today. So August 15th, that's tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Like, all you had to do is say, that's tomorrow. You know, you didn't really have to keep repeating it. And I was like, so they have a visual aid so the audience can see, look, this is the 14th. Look, this is the 16th. What happened to the 15th? That's all you needed. But they had to over-explain it and just say, look, this is important. Stephen Sommers is not a very subtle director. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. The more I think about it, and I watched it earlier in the week, the more I think about it, the fonder I am of it, because it is what it is. Again, I say this a lot about Stephen Sommers movies. They are what they are, and you can't fault them for it. It's a fun mystery thing. Like, it's hard to categorize, but it knows what it is, and it does what it sets out to do. So, in that way, it's a shame it isn't getting a big theatrical release, because I think a lot of people would like it. Um, and oh yes, my favorite thing about this movie is the casting of Anton Yelchin as Odd Thomas. I knew there was something I forgot to bring up. Anton Yelchin, I first noticed in Hearts in Atlantis. He was like a little boy in that movie, but he was really, really good in it. And then he was in. I really took notice, like remembered his name and everything. I was like, I'm going to pay attention to this kid. When he was in a movie directed by David Duchovny called David Duchovny from the X Files, called House of D, which is a really, really sweet movie that not nearly enough people have seen. That I bought on a whim from a discount thing. You said you have not seen it?
Nope.
Oh, maybe we'll need to watch that some other time. But,
another project.
It's so good, and Anton Yelchin is great in it. So every time he shows up in something, I'm probably going to at least give it a chance because I think he is such a good actor, and he has that thing Tom Hanks has, where he feels like an everyman. He feels like a natural human being when he's on screen.
I was first introduced to him on Terminator Salvation, when Terminator Salvation came out, and he played Kyle Reese.
Good choice for Kyle, right?
Yeah, that was a really good choice. And then the next movie that I seen him in was the remake of Fright Night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he was Charlie. Yeah, he was the main character, Charlie, in the remake of Fright Night. So that's when I was first introduced to this actor, and so far I like the movies that I've seen him in. Which right now it's only at 3, but he.
Well, you saw the Star Trek movies, right? The new Star Trek.
Oh yes, he was also in the Star Trek.
Yeah,
forgot about that one. Yeah, he really does good. He does a great job with just his whole acting career. You know, I didn't see any movies back to when he was a kid like you have, but so far for me, he's done a really good job.
Yeah, he's there are some actors you see and you say that person is obviously a star. You see Will Smith, it makes sense that he's such a huge star. You see, actually, I think Andrew Garfield is, when I look at him, he feels like a big star to me, even though he's not really an A-list star right now. I look at him and I'm like, that guy, he's got it. I feel the same way, about say Robert Downey Jr. or something like that. But then you have the actors who have that naturalistic touch, that everyman touch, that they're always borderline character actor.
Yeah.
Like character actors who show up in roles, completely disappear, and you don't even realize you saw them in the movie because they were completely immersed. And then there's actors like Gary Oldman, who he played Jim Gordon in the Dark Knight movies, and he's done so much. He's a borderline character actor, but he can also be a lead in the movie. I think Anton Yelchin is like that. He becomes his characters, but he's engaging enough to lead a movie, and I find that so much more interesting than just big time superstar actors.
Yeah.
Although I did compare him to Tom Hanks, who you don't really get much bigger than Tom Hanks. But.
Denzel.
Right, and Denzel, who plays Denzel Washington in every movie.
Yeah.
Like I saw Flight, and that was pretty good, and he was pretty good in that. But it just felt like I was watching Denzel Washington.
Another touching Denzel movie. Yeah.
But is there anything else? We've more rambled than anything in regards to reviewing the movie. Anything else you want to say about it? Anything strike you?
Like I said before, the movie did surprise me because at first I thought I wasn't going to like it. I thought I wasn't going to like it. I was just going to have to endure it for the duration of the movie. But what got me, you can say what got me hooked was probably starting at the beginning, like when he's talking to this girl and you find out that she's actually dead. Spoiler, it's just the beginning of the movie, people.
Yeah, that's not
But you find out that she's actually a ghost, and she's directing him to where her murderer is, so he can confront him and bring him to justice. That kind of got me intrigued a little bit. Like, oh, this went in a whole different direction than what I thought. Because when I hear about the Odd Thomas, I didn't get much into the books as Dustin has. So when I heard just the title itself, the Odd Thomas, I did not think oh, it's about a kid that can see dead people. I just thought that there was maybe something weird, something odd about him, not pertaining to spirits, but there's just something odd about him that makes him a special kid, which in a sense it actually does, but I didn't think it would go that route of seeing spirits and seeing these creatures called Bodaks. So it got me hooked. It got me hooked, and I was able to watch it and enjoy it, more importantly.
Uh-huh. A great quote. I'm going to get it wrong, but a great quote that was in the book. It was in a lot of the marketing for the book, and it was in the movie very early on, where he's like, "I'm Odd Thomas. I see dead people, but then by God, I do something about it." So that really defines the whole character, and I think that at that moment in the movie, as when in the book, that's when everything's, like you said, that's when you notice everything changes, when you realize, oh, this is what it's going to be, and then you settle in. So.
Yeah.
But there you go. It's a good movie. If anyone watches this who cares to see it, you can watch the video on demand. I believe it's on iTunes. I think it's on Amazon. I know it's on Google Play. And then if you're in a town where it comes out in theaters, go see it in theater. And so on and so forth. Poor Dean Koontz, man. He's had such a huge career. Now, like I said, I'm not a big Dean Koontz fan, but his books deserve better movies, I will say that. And so finally he gets one that he can be proud of, and not a whole lot of people are going to see it. But they should. I really think they should. All right, then. So I'm done announcing what the next movie we're going to review is, because the last time I did that, I was wrong. And then when I did that the first time I did that, I was wrong. And then when I did it last time, I ended up changing my mind because I saw Odd Thomas was finally available to watch. So I'm not going to announce what we're going to talk about tomorrow, even though it's not going to change, but oh well. So we'll be back tomorrow. And then, yep. So until then, I am non-critic Dustin.
And I'm non-critic Will.
And at this point, we still don't have a sign-off, so goodbye!
Bye!